Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. My name is Mitch Case. I will be your host today. I'm also the owner and CEO of a small company called More Than a Meal, where we help organizations strengthen their most valued relationships by showing gratitude and appreciation one meal at a time. So grateful for this show and one of our sponsors, True Captive. They believe in healthcare that is personal and insurance that is not complicated. And I know all of us want to believe that that is the case with insurance. So if you want to learn more about this unique captive healthcare program, just go on over to truecaptive.com. You'll get a lot to learn from their site, and then we can help you with any introductions from that perspective. Reason I started this show is I wanted to highlight individuals that work day in and day out, not just to build a company, but to truly build more than a business. And that oftentimes talks a lot about how we develop, how we care for our team members within that organization. So the goal today is just to have a conversation with a wonderful guest that has been walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to our next guest, Fahteema Parish. Fahteema is the dynamic founder and president of Parrish Sons Construction here in Kansas City. Her company is 100% minority owned, family operated general contractor specializing in excavation and grading. I spent 10 years in construction. That's some big, heavy work going on there. She has had remarkable growth. She's the kind of person that's not going to brag about it, but we're going to go ahead and brag about it for her, which includes about 183% revenue increase over the last couple of years. She also earned, her and her team have earned the 2023 Small Business of the Year award. That is absolutely amazing. In my small conversations with her, she has a background in tech, solid education, and her hands-on approach and passion for mentorship has made her just a wonderful leader, not only in the business community, but even specifically in the construction industry itself. So her journey is deeply influenced by her family, leaves a lasting impact on her community, and inspires not only myself, but even the next generation of business owners and women-led businesses. So without further ado, I would love to bring on Fahteema to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Mitch.
I am incredibly excited to dive into this. You are somebody that probably doesn't necessarily need an introduction, especially here in the Kansas City area. The company name, your name is always just at the top of the list of the best of the best. And I don't just mean the business side of things, the way that you care for whether it's a team member or even just another person in the community. So I've definitely been looking forward to having you on the show. And I always like to start this off with just an impact story. So could you kind of dive into maybe a story, a personal story of how you or maybe your company has made an impact on one of your team members or even potentially a client?
Yes. And so what makes Parrish Sons Construction more than a business is just our, philanthropic, nature. The impact that, started probably about 3 years ago, back in 2020, I was emailed by one of our trade partners up at the KCI Airport, Virginia DeBesh of Edgemore Infrastructure and Real Estate, one of a part of the JV partnership that built our, first single terminal airport. And they were looking for volunteers to come up and, take a couple girls, 3 busloads of girls on a tour of the KCI airport and specifically talk about the roles, the scope of work that we performed as women on the project. And so between Virginia DeBesh and Joe McBride with the KC Aviation Department and our new interim director, who is nothing short of amazing. We, volunteered our time on a Sunday, and I got to meet, all these young girls with, just bright, bushy-eyed personalities that were eager to learn about, our impact as women on this huge, project. And so I was able to talk to them and, meet them where they're at and make it enjoyable and ask them challenging questions about, them actually seeing themselves, performing work as a woman, a young woman, being on this mega project. And so it was from that day, 3 years ago on a Saturday, interacting with awesome, ambitious Ambitions, Cynthia Newsom, and all of the ladies that, have spent 25, I guess this is 6 years,
Yeah.
pouring into young women, inspiring them to, prepare for college and career readiness, and being that mentor to them. And, this is outside of family, and it's like,
Mm.
hey, I can envision seeing myself in that role, being on, a construction project as a woman, working with, just as awesome men, side by
Yeah.
side and being a part of this. So, the impact story is really, me connecting with Awesome Ambitions by just volunteering my time on a Saturday when I could have been at home with my four sons or my husband, doing
Right.
something
Right.
different.
That is it interests me in the sense, one, I spent 10 years in construction. I know that's a very heavily male dominated industry. And the focus of this project, ironically, the airport is one of the last projects I worked on before I decided to leave and start our own business. But your investment in, the up and coming women into the professional world, I'm curious, have you kept in contact with any of them over these last 3 years? 3 years ago, this was just a terminal all of us wanted to see renovated, and maybe even there wasn't even a shovel in the ground yet, to now it's being used and was voted the #1 airport.
Yes. And
Have you been
so,
able to keep up with any of them?
absolutely, I've
All right.
seen two people, two women, two awesome women. One from Clark Construction Group. Her name is Ashley Dixon, and the other is Kate Sleeden with Clarkson Construction. She actually was hired
Okay.
on with Clarkson Construction, after completing, the her phase of work there,
Yeah.
and we've remained in good contact and been on several. Um, I guess volunteer initiatives to, continue to give back to our community. So I would say those two ladies are still, pressing forward, making change, in their, areas. But it was great to have connected and carried on that relationship afterwards.
Yeah, wow. I can definitely see, I've always been a believer in the sense that if you're in a funk, or if you're having a hard time, go find something that you can do for somebody else, and it can so oftentimes just pick you up. So one, just appreciate you being willing to give your time, because I know you're not sitting around twirling your thumbs waiting for something to happen, but donating that time for the youth here in Kansas City. It truly just goes to show, each and every conversation I've had with you, that you just follow through with the word that you talk about. So let's definitely transition into Parrish and Sons. You've been awarded the 2023 Business of the Year. I know that application that you have to fill out to apply and all this stuff. And there's a lot of things that it doesn't just like somebody voted you in and it's done. There's a lot of intentional work that you've had over the years to even have the opportunity to apply and then actually be voted on by your peers from that perspective. Tell us some of maybe the initiatives, and focusing more on the more than a business side of things, where it really focuses on your team members. What are some of the things that you had to do to qualify and apply for that type of prestigious, amazing recognition?
Yes. The application process is indeed an intense, effort, that you can't undergo by yourself, and it
Yes.
clearly takes a team. There's no there's no I in team. I'll stick with that one. And so the first year, because we were in the top 10 for the past 3 years, and the
Yes.
very first year it was me having or challenging my executive assistant at the time to go through and see if she could answer all the questions. Because for me, it meant that if she was successful in answering all the questions, whether it was one sentence or two, that meant that I had done my job in sharing the mission and vision of the organization.
Yes. Okay. I like that. Yep. Yep.
And I continued on to challenge her even further and say, go to your peers and see if they know the answers and can elaborate on, the responses. And so each year we carried it on forward, each time adding more in the area of DEI. We are a minority women owned company. So by default, we're diverse. But
Mm-hmm.
how inclusive are we to, the men in the workforce,
Mm.
the older workforce or crew members, or the younger, folks that are entering into their professions, as interns. And so it challenged us to, be extremely more intentional about what DEI meant to us as, that diverse organization. So we expounded there, and then we, within the third year, well, after the second year, we focused on marketing, because I'm like, okay, I'm a software engineer. I enjoy getting the geek out into the tech space.
Let's go. Yes. Yep.
Folks. But what does it mean for, having a marketing team that is totally dedicated to, doing nothing but, all things marketing? And so I was able to bring them on, Brand House. They are amazing, and they are continuing to thrust us forward from the marketing perspective. So with each year, I was able to add more to the organization's overall, strategic plan and grow from it. And that was a product of saying, hey, we naturally, are going to do good in the community. We're naturally going to provide as many of the opportunities that we can to the underserved and the underrepresented, because that's who we are. But we're going to continue to press forward every single time, knowing that we're going to do better, the next time.
I'm curious, like the exercise, and I'm just going to choose the word exercise, but sending that around to your team members, one can feel really, really amazing if your vision, your view of things is repeated by your team members. Part of me freaks out a little bit in the sense that, oh man, what if they come back and they're like way off and like I've failed as a leader and all this kind of stuff. Was there any situation in there where you were like, wow, I missed this? Tell me maybe kind of how you guys worked through all of that, and maybe you found some weak spots within your organization that you can really like bolster up, whether it is related to, inclusive pieces of DEI or anything along those lines. I'm just kind of curious on the feedback that you got, and you found some maybe areas that you can improve to help build your company as more than a business.
Yes. So one of the majors was really being intentional about pressing forward with our Parish Cares initiative.
Okay, we're going to ask more about that in a little bit.
Yes. And so pressing forward with that, so I'll digress on that note, but pressing forward with that as an initiative, and then touching on the fact that we have this, this accounting team that was, churning a little bit more than it needed to be. And so it meant that the feedback that was shared by the team, as identified as a weakness that we needed to be more intentional about resolving. And so we continue to identify, the issues early. And if that meant that we churned, through the next resource much faster than we did, so that we know, hey, we're going to keep pressing until we get the right person in place that really wants to provide that professional service and have integrity behind what they're producing. And so I think that with that increase in identification of, maybe this isn't a great fit and we move on from it versus sitting on it longer, was really the thing that I was able to identify, from my team.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's dive into the Parrish Cares, the band that you have there. Tell me more about that. What does that signify?
So Parrish Cares is, again, tying back to our philanthropic initiative. But what I did also was create a bucket of time, where I am, letting my team members know, hey, here is, me showing you that I care this much, that I'm going to donate, these hours to you for you to use on any of the, after hours, events that you attend. The thing that we have coming up now is the American Heart Association's Heart Walk. I think it's October 7th. And I'm like, everyone who attends, you get to, charge your hours, your time to this bucket. And, we're, paying you to be a part of that, because this is why we care. And just another way to say, as employees, I want you guys to be a part of this, and your time is valuable.
So another way to invest in the things that maybe care most to the individual, not necessarily just you as a leader within the organization. So they can use that towards any sort of philanthropic event they want to. And you're saying here, go and invest your time in these locations. So I've heard of like one other business that is doing that and getting ready to release that, ironically, another women-owned business that's really focusing on, like, so often we have tried to force isn't the right word, but so often we say, hey, we're going to go to it as a team, we're going to go and help this nonprofit and we'll do that all together. But so often maybe that doesn't resonate with the individual. And now I'm hearing these opportunities to say, I don't have the right answer to where you can best spend your time and serve. So let's let you make that decision and I'll support you wherever it is that you go through that. It seems like such common sense when it comes down to that, but I love that is the freedom that these individuals on your team get to have. Let's talk a little bit more about, like, what truly, I mean, I know getting the prestigious award of Business of the Year, this Parrish Cares, those are some really unique things that have occurred through your business that you've been probably very intentional about. What are some other intentional initiatives that you've had that truly make Parrish and Sons more than a business? Are there certain additional benefits that come along with that? Are there any stories that stick out to you from that perspective?
So I would say continuing education.
Okay.
I'm a huge proponent of, continuing to learn throughout my life. So not just, within my professional portion of my career, but as a steward. I enjoy just being a part of, learning something new and different. And so what I offer to all of my employees is continuing education reimbursement. It was something that allowed me to make it all the way through, my master's degree with 0 student loan debt. I wrote the letters to apply for multiple scholarships saying, hey, this is why you should pay me for bettering myself. And so I did that and continue to, receive the scholarship dollars that, again, are just, I'm grateful for, because I know several of my peers that, are still trying to get out of and pay down, student loan debt. So I support my employees, just another way, by offering continuing education.
Is there any parameters on that you have? Does it need to be a specific focus for education, or what does that look like?
Yes. So the main focus I start with is, health, and safety, because when you think about construction, or if you think about just a basic life principle, tying back to any time I, left or departed from, home, leaving my parents or my grandmother or my loved one, and they're like, well, you be safe. And so it's something that we had been saying throughout a lifetime, but not just specific to the construction industry. And so I started with OSHA. All of my professional service team members all had their OSHA 30, and I allow them company time, and I offer reimbursement for that training and certification. And then in addition to that, any of the, university or college level degree programs that they participate in, it has to be, a service that they can offer, a degree that's, catered to some function within the organization. But if you think about construction, accounting, legal, HR, project management, construction management, we need all of those things.
Marketing, all of those things. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty wide open.
I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was really around this idea of, if you're not providing something that fulfills somebody, and so often we in our professional careers want to just continuously learn. And if the opportunity to continuously learn is no longer there, even though I might enjoy the company or what we do, like my purpose is not being fulfilled, and we run dry. And ultimately that's when you start to see that churn and that turnover. So providing the opportunity to continue that education in whatever capacity that may be. Do you ever see anybody within your organization raising their hand, hey, I thought I liked accounting and now I'm interested in this? Do you provide education from that, where they I don't know if you can go from accounting to marketing. I don't think those brains actually work the same way, but in the sense that you see kind of a 90-degree turn to a different direction within the organization itself. Have you come across anything along those lines from an education perspective?
So I guess just here recently, the Builders Association offered a estimating course. It was probably for 4 the past 4 weeks within 4 Wednesdays in August, and I had my HR, manager who said, "Hey, I want to attend." So I was like, "Absolutely." So again, that was paid company time that she was able to go and participate in the estimating course. And, she obtained a certification from, the Builders Association, Caleb McCandless, and I think
I
Ava
love that.
Dorman, and I think Rising Trades Cohort, they sponsored,
Okay.
a portion of it. And so it was just like an amazing, example of, hey, HR, I want to learn about estimating.
Yeah, maybe there's a sense of like wanting to understand what everybody does within each of their positions, but what it goes into just a diverse, both from skill set to all the other scenarios of diversity. I that is interesting. I wonder how many times, because I made a right hook. I went from construction to a meal kit business, not expecting what I'd be doing 10 years after I graduated, be doing what I'm doing now, but I couldn't find myself more motivated, joyful, and purposeful in the work that I do get to do in that space. So let's real quick turn to you. I know every single day is not just jumping for joy, and the day in and day out work can be tough and grinding at times, but what continues to motivate you to show up and be there and serve the individuals that you're blessed to have on your team?
Yes, legacy business, you know, establishing and solidifying, a greater footprint, and knowing that, we as, businesses here within Kansas City are a part of the ecosystem that is required for us to, all, reap the benefits of what it means to be sustainable.
Mm,
Um, seeing the improvements and the renewal of our infrastructure. There are countries that don't have, infrastructure to get, clean running, pure, purified or clean, drinking water.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so getting to be a part of that for our city, is is a part of the thing that keeps me going. Like, wow, we're able to be a part of, just this tiny piece of renewing our infrastructure, for our city to have an increased quality of life.
Yeah, it's so easy to take that for granted when especially just raising my hand as a white male who's grown up in like middle class. Like I've never had to think twice about if the water was going to turn on, but have several encounters with individuals here in the city of Kansas City that share services with their neighbors to make sure that they can keep water on in one place and lights on in another. So I appreciate the work that you do that does um, provide us that clean water that you just talked about. And I know that it's more than just clean water, but I'm grateful for that component. I'm grateful for you to be in this business community, making the impact not only on our community in that way, but even the youth coming up, and just working on some amazing projects that just make this city better, that provides a ton of jobs for us here in the Kansas City area. So kudos to you again for the recognition that is much deserved. Outside of just being grateful for you coming on the show, we always like to show appreciation for those that do join us. So we're going to give a meal away to one of your team members that you feel either needs it because they deserve to be recognized in that way, or maybe they've been hit hard, but maybe tell us who that might be, and as much or as little as you're willing to share on why.
Oh, wow. So my team member, um, I would probably, geez, I probably would say my receptionist.
Yeah.
She does an amazing job, every single day coming in, smiling even when it's tough,
Mm,
interacting with a variety of different personalities. And, she still takes it in strides,
yeah.
as, a human. And I'd like to say that, yes, my receptionist, I think that that'd
All
be an
right.
awesome surprise for her.
Awesome. Well, I always do love like the shock and surprise of just the true appreciation, and honestly, like receptionists tend to be like the first thing you see and can be the perception of your business. So happy and grateful to be able to help her in that way too. So after the show, we'll touch base and we'll chat about that to make sure we can get that released to her. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show. If this is your first time tuning in, we come out here every single Thursday at 3 p.m. We are interviewing some of the best owners, some of the best HR executives, not just in Kansas City, but throughout the Midwest, on what makes their business more than a business. So Fahteema, cannot thank you enough for joining us. And with that, we are a wrap. And until next time, we will see you on Thursday.